In 2006, I gave a paper about the Gaelic League and the Irish music revival in the context of the literary revival. And a man came up to me, he's professor of literature at the University of Texas in Austin, and his name is Alan Friedman. I don't know if Alan is out there, but if he is, I'm very grateful to him. Alan's written a fantastic book about Joyce and Beckett. It's called Party Pieces. And we dovetail really quite nicely in the way we view James Joyce and the role of the party piece, basically, in their lives and in their fictions. I have something to read, but I won't. We'll move along a little more quickly here with this segment. But anyway, I went to this conference. He invited me to a conference he was holding on James Joyce, and I landed in with all these Joyce experts from all over the world, and I gave my little paper on my view of Joyce and traditional music and the revival and the questions about traditional song. And the result is maybe a thesis which might be a little provocative, I don't know, which is that we should regard James Joyce as a traditional singer. Even though he prepared himself to compete at the Feshkill competition in the male tenor category. He was inspired by the success of John McCormack, the great tenor, who won in 1903, won a scholarship to get trained in Italy, and his career was in full swing by 1904. But as Joyce's biographer Richard Ellman says, it was better to be a first James Joyce than a second John McCormack, and he gave up that idea. But the place of the place of song in Joyce's fictions and the place of song in his life, I have a few things to say about that, and I regard him, though his repertoire may be a bit eclectic, and his choices might not be agreeable to some traditional singers sitting next to me here even. I will explore that now. It's nevertheless the case that his way of singing and the way that he treats songs in the Siren chapter of Ulysses, in the great short story The Dead, and elsewhere, resonates with what we think traditional singing is about, and that's my thesis. But I wanted to have my pals here, Christine Dowling and Bhriain Mullen, sing a couple of Joyce's songs, which are certainly amongst his traditional repertoire, The Lass of Aughrim and The Croppy Boy. Could I ask Bhriain to go first?
Yeah. It was early, all in the spring. The birds did whistle and did sweetly sing, changing their notes from three to three. And the song they sang was Old Ireland Free. It was early, all in the night. The yeoman cavalry did me a fright. The yeoman cavalry was my downfall, and I was taken by Lord Cornwall. As I was walking up Wexford Street, my own first cousin I chanced to meet. My own first cousin did me betray, and for one bright guinea swore my life away. My sister then, in great distress, came up the street in her morning dress. 500 guineas I would lay down to see my brother free in Wexford town. As I was walking up Wexford Hill, who could blame me to cry my fill? I looked behind and I looked before, but my own dear mother I could see no more. As I was mounted on the gallows high, my aged father was standing by. My aged father did me deny, and the name he gave me was the Croppy Boy. In Wexford town this young man died, in Wexford town his body lies. Come all good people that do pass by, and she had a tear for the Croppy Boy.
Bhriain and Christine, when I asked you to sing these songs, I know you went about. There are more than one versions of each of these.
Yeah, there's two versions of the Croppy Boy.
And tell me, why did you pick the one you?
I picked the other version that some people will know is the one where the fellow goes to tell his sins to a person he thinks is a priest, but it's actually a British soldier wearing a priest's garb. I think the British soldier's been hiding in the church for some reason, maybe taking the priest away. But as he tells us, the priest that he's going off to fight in the 98, the priest does the unmasking, throws off his disguise and arrests him, and he's taken off and he's hanged for being a Croppy Boy. And it's an interesting song because it's, I think, based on that older Croppy Boy. It was written in 1840, 1850 or something like that, and based on the idea of the Croppy Boy, but making it into a more dramatic story. I think I went for that one because it's, you were talking earlier about the loneliness and the loss, sense of loss in Irish song, and the sense of loss in that song is far stronger than in the other version. There's no narrative to the story in the sense that things happen and things happen. It's all over by the time we've reached the story.
Yeah.
He's going off to be hanged, and he's been deserted by everybody. His cousin sells him for one bright guinea. His sister tries to buy his freedom. He looks round, his mother's gone, he can't see her anymore. As he goes up onto the gallows tree, the father denies him and calls him a Croppy Boy, and it's all over for him. The sense of loneliness in the song, I think, is tremendous. And it echoes as well lots of other songs that I'm sure Joyce was aware of at the time. My Boy Willie, early on, all in the spring, My Boy Willie went to serve the king and he gets lost at sea. And then, of course, Lady Franklin's Lament for her husband, John Franklin. It's all about not being able to find him, and she's willing to pay down money to know that he's still alive. So Joyce would have been aware of all those songs when he was growing up.
Thanks, Bhriain. And Christine, you had a similar troubles with different versions of the Lass of Aughrim. How did you come on?
I'd only ever heard one version of the Lass of Aughrim. That's probably from about 30 years ago. It's the same version that I've heard a number of people sing around Ireland. I first heard Sinead Cahir sing it. She's from Tyrone. Tim Lyons sings a version of the same air. So I was very surprised when I saw John Huston's The Dead that they used a different version of that song. So when you asked me, I started investigating the versions that I could come across, and of course it's once you start opening the cupboard doors on these songs, there's no end to information, especially one that's as old as this. They think the first publication of this was found in the second quarter of the 1700s, and they think it was had been around for at least 200 years before that, because there's so much evidence of transmission and change, and so it's a very, very, very old song. Scottish originally, that's without a doubt, and it came over through here. So there's one book I looked at, which is I don't want to get too technical here, but the Bronson book that gives melodies to all the ballads that Child collected. All the big Scottish songs are in there. There's 23 airs to this particular song, and he's amazed at how few there are. He thinks that's a small number. The one that ended up being in Ireland is not one of those 23 airs. So something happened to it in Ireland. They've done something to it and made it their own. So I ended up going back to that version.
Great.
If I can remember it now.
Yeah, go for it.
I am a king's daughter, and I come from Cappoquin in search of Lord Gregory. Please God, I'll find him in. The rain beats on my yellow locks, and the dew it wets my skin. My babe lies cold in my arms. Lord Gregory, let me in. Lord Gregory is not here, and therefore he can't be seen. He is gone to bonny Scotland for to bring home his new queen. So leave now these windows and likewise this hall, for 'tis deep in the ocean you must hide your downfall. Do you remember, Lord Gregory, that night in Cappoquin, when we exchanged pocket handkerchiefs and that against my will? Yours was finest linen, love, and mine was but coarse cloth. Yours cost a guinea, love, and mine but a groat. And do you remember, Lord Gregory, that night in Castlequin, when we exchanged rings on our fingers, and that against my will? Yours was finest silver, love, and mine was but blocked in. Yours cost 4 guineas, love, and mine but a pin. And do you remember, Lord Gregory, that night in my father's hall, when you stole away my fond heart, and that was worst of all? Leave now these windows and likewise this hall, for 'tis deep in the ocean you must hide your downfall. Who will shoe my babe's little foot? Who put gloves on her hand? Who will tie up her middle with a long and green band? Who will comb her yellow hair with an ivory comb? Who will be my babe's father till Lord Gregory comes home? My curse on you, mother, and I curse you full sore. I dreamt the lass of Aughrim came a-knocking at my door. Sleep now, my foolish son, lie down and take your sleep, for 'tis long ago her yellow locks lie a-waving in the deep. Saddle me my black horse, the white horse or the bay. Go saddle me the best horse in my stable today, and I will range over mountains and across valleys wide, till I find the lass of Aughrim and lay by her side.
Thanks, Christine. So, chapter 4. On Bloomsday today, remember, get your party piece ready and celebrate James Joyce, Irish traditional singer. All right.